Thank you, Concordia, and thank you, Minister. And I suppose, like my other colleagues, I'd like to use this as an opportunity to congratulate you in your position as Minister. Look, I get the sentiment in your reply, and I suppose the reason I raised this PQ was basically a number of people have come to my clinics over the last number of weeks and maybe months, and they would have in isolated cases have children that would be at 19 and doing the Leave Insert. And as a result, they would fall out of that threshold that you speak about. So it wouldn't be a wide-scale extension of the scheme. It would only be predominant to families where there would have children up to 19 in Leave Insert, which would be in isolated cases. Because they, once they fall out of that scheme, they're not able to avail of the different options that's there. And the family income support that you speak about, it's extremely difficult for families to obtain that and get approved, and there's a long, lengthy process. And currently, you have families on very low incomes and some on social welfare incomes who's actually really struggling.
Thank you, Deputy O'Rourke.
Associated with the school, it might find it very difficult and expensive for them to actually.
Thank you very much, Minister, to respond.
Yeah, I understand the argument and the point the Deputy is making. I have to double check this, but as if I remember correctly, child benefits paid 16 and 17-year-olds, but not 18-year-olds. So there will be quite a lot actually of 18-year-olds in Leaving Cert year at this stage, not just 19-year-olds. So I don't think you could extend it to 19-year-olds and not the 18-year-olds. You'd have to do up to, yeah. It's definitely something. I see the case for it. When the scheme first came in, fewer would have done transition year. It would have been much less common for people to be doing their Leaving Cert 18. Now it's quite common. So I'll certainly examine it in the context of the budget, the possibility of extending it to 18 and 19-year-olds who are still in 6th year or still in school. But resources are always limited, and that might be money that could perhaps be better targeted at the back-to-school allowance or the fuel allowance, or supports that would target those
Thank you, Minister.
In need. But it's certainly something
Thank you.
Deputy
O'Rourke.
Thank you, Corley. Yeah, thank you, Minister, for that. It seems positive response that you examine it at the very minimum. And I think that would be important because while there is quite a number of families up to 18, there is also more reduced at 19 years of age. But it's extremely difficult and very expensive for these families, as you can appreciate. And I know it's all to do with financial budgets and constraints, but it would be important that you would review it and look to extend it, even on a phased basis, like to take them into that area of getting the support. Because currently there's families at the moment that's trying to put their children back to school at 18 and 19, which is common for Leave Insert, and it's a hugely expensive time, and it really is difficult for them, and it would make a big difference to them and their families if that was possible to extend it out. So I would hope that you'd be able to do something in that regard, and maybe look to maybe having it put in place maybe or at some stage or some part of it by the next budget of this year. And maybe you consider as well the actual other part of the question, which was up to the SUSI grants. I don't know if that's worth examining or looking into the future in the second phase of the question. Because it would be relevant and important as well for those families.
Thank you very much.
They are means tested.
Thank you.
Sorry, Concordia. Thank you.
Minister, to conclude, please.
Yeah, I suppose given the costs involved to the taxpayer, I might look at the first part of the question first and the second part at a subsequent stage. But I can certainly see how an anomaly might arise where a child in school turns 18 in 6th year, loses their child benefit, subsequently qualifies for a student grant when they get into college or PLC later that year, and you have this gap in between where there's no financial support from the state. So it's certainly something that I do commit to examining between now and the budget, but caveated by the obvious fact that there are potentially other areas of need that have to be accounted for as well.
Thank you for dealing with those questions so